So I want to thank Wendy Stuart for joining us today. Hey, Wendy, how are you?
Oh my God, I'm terrific. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Cannot complain. How are you doing through this whole pandemic and everything?
Just trying to live my best pandemic life, right? Aren't we all?
So are you staying inside a lot still, or have you finally been able to start getting out of the house?
Well, Tristan, my story is an unbelievable one about the pandemic. I live in New York City, as you know.
Yes.
And no one told us it was going to be as bad as it was. No one told us anything, right? So like March 10th and 11th, I was out seeing friends in clubs and they were telling us this virus was coming. And I'm like, okay, we have to be careful. That's when we all started to hear about the hand washing and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, I thought, all right, hand washing, how bad can it be? Can you imagine, right? How naive. And then the next thing they said was New York City was going to really get hit bad. And that Thursday, which was March 12th, our governor put out an all points bulletin that everything was shutting down. So you know what, Tristan, I knew we weren't in Kansas anymore. And through the weekend, you heard more and more ambulances, right? Because I live right in the city. And by the following week, ambulances day and night, alerts going off on our phones that they needed healthcare workers right away. It was crazy. But I'm a performer. I'm an on-camera host. I MC in clubs. I do panel interviews and I make films. All of a sudden, everything that I've spent my entire career doing has stone cold stopped.
Right.
And all of my friends who were performers were like, nobody knew what to do. A lot of people, you know, anyone out there who is lucky enough, you know, to be able to do their job at home, and that's a lot of people, that's great. But entertainers can't do that.
Right.
They can't do that. All of a sudden, our stages, Broadway shut down. Tristan, when does Broadway ever shut down?
Yeah.
So everything came to a screaming halt, and I thought, I am going to be chopped liver if I don't come up with something. So 3 days into this whole pandemic, I'm standing in my kitchen, and my husband, who makes the documentary films with me, I'm always the host and he does the shooting. We were standing in our kitchen making our coffee, and I said to him, I said, we have to come up with something. And I looked at him and I said, let's do a cooking show. We'll shoot a cooking show in the kitchen, right? Because they were telling us now we had to stay in and everything. And he said to me, Wendy, you don't cook. Now, Tristan, if you know anything about me, there's nothing that can stop me. And I thought, I'm a comedian. What could be better than someone doing a cooking show that doesn't cook?
That's excellent.
Right? So that's how I started my show, which is called Pandemic Cooking with Wendy. We have like 48 episodes already. Can you imagine?
Oh, wow.
And I shot them throughout the entire pandemic, right in my own kitchen. And I have to tell you, it worked on so many levels, and I'll tell you why. You asked me how I was dealing with sheltering and the isolation, and we're in New York City apartments. It's really awful to be told, you know, well, you can't go anywhere or do anything. Yeah, you can take your dog out for a walk, but that's it. And, you know, New Yorkers, we live so close to each other, right? And we all have such active, crazy lives. All of a sudden, we don't have that anymore. So, you know, part of my day every day was to come up with what I was going to make. And that was also a challenge. I'm a person that doesn't cook, so I would go on Google and think about how I wanted to theme my show and have recipes that went with that. And another thing, the recipes all had to be easy.
Yeah.
Because when you don't cook, I'm a girl that orders in. You know, I have that true New York City life. But you too, right?
Yes.
Tristan, you don't have time to cook. Neither do I. So I thought, you know what? This is going to be, I'm going to make it easy for people. But more than anything, I'm going to make it really entertaining. It's going to be a really funny show. And I have friends in the cooking world that said to me, Wendy, you know, there's a lot of cooking shows out there, and why would you call your show Pandemic Cooking? And I said to them, you guys don't get it. I'm not competing with, you know, the Rachel Reyes of the world. I'm not the next Martha Stewart. I'm a funny person. I'm Lucille Ball, and I'm cooking.
That's brilliant.
And I want people just to watch the show and just feel good. Well, you know what? It was more than I could have ever wrapped my eyes around, because the amount of commentary from people, the amount of people that tune in, we broadcast a couple of times a week, And each segment it's like 2.5 to 3 minutes long, because people don't have a long span. So I have to be super funny, super creative. The recipes are very real. You can totally make them. You can follow them. But I've made so many people. This is what really makes my heart so big, that so many people that watched had the COVID virus. We got really bad hit of it in New York. And people would say, with things so sad and what's going on in the world, I love tuning into your show and watching you cook and the funny things that you say and the funny things that you do. So, I mean, it was so gratifying, and I'm still doing it. Now we're going into a new phase, right, of opening up. And that's a bit of a changer, but we still can't be on top of one another. And other than the very beginning of my show, when I had 2 guests on before we were wearing masks all the time, I've been the only one on my show the whole time. So now with the new guidelines, instead of masks, they have those clear visors. So have you seen those yet?
I haven't actually, no.
Okay, so you can just Google them, because you're going to end up seeing them a lot. They're actually considered even better, because there's like a band up here, almost like a headband on top of your head, and then a visor that comes down, way down over your face like that. It's almost like a piece of plastic. What works so great about this, if you know about the virus, it's droplets that go into the air. And that's what can get people sick. And masking and staying apart is effective, but I wanted to start to have guests on my show again. So I shot my first segment yesterday. I'm in the visor, and I had a celebrity hairdresser on, and he's in the visor too. So, masks, it wouldn't have been so visually appealing, but the visors it's really cool. We look like bikers almost, when you have your helmet down. And the best part about it was you could see our faces. It was wonderful to have a guest on finally again. And the only thing, what was so funny, like my guest, it's a celebrity hairdresser, Richard Larry. He went to taste the chicken we were making, and it got all over the front of his visor because he forgot he had it on and it needed to go up and underneath. So, these are the hazards of the job.
I mean, that just makes for more like comedic appeal, though. That's perfect.
Oh, totally, right? Totally perfect. So, basically, to answer your question, how did I get through the pandemic? This is really how. I had to reinvent my total career. And I've been really lucky getting called for podcasts and radio interviews, but all of it pivoted off Pandemic Cooking with Wendy, which is on my YouTube channel, Wendy Stuart TV. And it was nothing I ever planned,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it just happened.
You already had your modeling and your TV career established, so you're already well known. So that
known, but what do you do when there's no modeling or TV work? Somebody said to me, "Are you still working as a model?" I'm like, "Where am I going to do that?"
Right.
There was nobody shooting anything. Also, in terms of live stuff, there were no collections, no runway. Now, one thing I was really lucky with, and this is very interesting, and it is to me too. One of the things that's in my book, She's the Last Model Standing, it's about a big aspect of my modeling career, which is called fit modeling. I take clothing and I try it on for a lot of the major manufacturers. And I am the standard size 8. They call it an American size 8. So when you go into the mall, what's your favorite store? Tell me what your favorite store is.
Probably, I'm trying to think. I mean, I really like Victoria's Secret, so we'll just go with that.
Okay, that's a good place to start. So you would have no idea, Tristan, how much effort goes into making those bras when you put them on. They want those bras to fit you well. When you put those panties on, they want those panties to fit you well. When you're leaning over on a bar stool, they don't want anything coming down, right? There's a panty, my gosh, you cannot imagine what goes into making a panty fit you the right way. And I do everything. I do dresses, coats, bathing suits, bras, panties, the whole 9 yards. Wow. So all of a sudden, all of my companies that I go to do that, they've all shut down. Everybody shut down. They're working from home. But how am I going to be able to do my job for them anymore? Well, some of them are putting clothes out there without having them tried on. And I can't tell you what that's going to be like when you go into the store and you put that stuff on. People are going to see a change in the way things fit when they go back out there. But I was lucky enough to have more than a few clients that said to me, listen, Wendy, how about you put the clothing on and we do a Zoom meeting? Now, how genius is that? Now, how am I going to get the clothing? Well, they had the boxes shipped to me with the samples in them. I let them air out and disinfected them for 2 days, just to make sure, although I've been told anything that's shipped, even with the flights and all, that it's fine, but I still disinfected it. We all have our Lysol spray.
Yeah.
And then I could have the meeting with the client. I could try the dress on and stand in front of the camera. They would be all from their locations, right? And Zoom is great because you can get a lot of people on it.
Yeah.
You would have like a corporate meeting and they would say, how does it feel? And I could show them the armhole and say, oh, it's a little tight there. I think you need to lower the armhole, maybe like half an inch. I think it would fit better. And this is how crazy is this? This is what I've been doing. So as I said to you, I have had to totally and completely reinvent myself. I'm working off of a screen.
Yeah.
I live my life virtually now. I even wrote a song about it, Tristan. I did.
Music?
Just sing the chorus. I'm living in a virtual world, but I am not a virtual girl. Oh, I'm living in a virtual world, but I am not a virtual girl.
You need to really
and then it's got a whole bunch of other lyrics to it, but because all of a sudden my whole life in New York of auditioning and modeling jobs, all of it like changed overnight.
Right. Well, that's so amazing how you adapted to that, though.
Well, I didn't have a choice. That's what I try and tell people. So many people on the shows I've done said to me, like, how did you do that? You know what? I never gave it a second thought, and that's why I wanted to sing my song to you. I'm not a virtual girl. I'm not in front of a computer. In my New York life, with modeling jobs, you're booked by the hour. I take the subway. I'm on my handy dandy little phone here. I tell people this was my office, because I'm in motion all the time. And now I am in the corner of my couch for the most part, living my best pandemic life.
Oh my goodness. It's incredible though, because it really shows how people just have to change and adapt with the world. And this kind of threw us for a loop. Nobody expected it,
Nobody, I mean, when could you wrap your head around this kind of thing? It's interesting because one of the things, if you saw my bio, I'm a member of the Explorers Club in New York. And it's a worldwide organization, 3,400 people in the world, filled with scientists. I'm a filmmaker. My husband and I make films about endangered animals and endangered people. And we go to remote parts of the world to do these films. But a lot of the people I know are scientists. And when, probably March 3rd, we started hearing about this virus. And, my modeling friends and my friends at entertainment clubs were all like, well, it's in China. It's not really something that we have to think about so much. And my scientist friends at the Explorers Club, forget it. I have one friend who's a world-renowned caver, Chris Nicola. I did a presentation at the club, and I'm like, why aren't you coming to see me? He said, first of all, I can't believe you're going there. This was just like March 3rd. He said, I can't believe you're doing it. He said, second of all, he says, I'm staying in. I go, well, what do you mean you're staying in? I mean, these people are people that go on excavations. They do expeditions. They're people that are not afraid of anything. Now, all of a sudden, they're either staying in or they're fleeing. And Chris said to me, Wendy, he said, you don't understand what's coming. I said, well, it's a contagious thing like the flu, but worse. That's what I've been told. He says, no, you can't even imagine. And Tristan, we couldn't imagine, can we? Mm-mm. Although, you know what I said to my husband, when they started in the beginning of March with the thing with the hand washing and the disinfecting, I looked at my husband and I said, you know what? I think we're done. This is really bad. Because if that's the best, nobody was saying like, oh, you can take this medication or you can go to the doctor and get some antibiotics for it. No one said any of that. They're telling you can wash your hands and disinfect with wipes. And I thought, oh boy, we're really, really in trouble. And here we are, you and I, we're having this conversation today.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, I actually, I do photography and I work in a bartend. So I'm always around people.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was actually, it kind of worked hand in hand though, because being off from my bartending job, it gave me the free time to be able to virtually change my photography business and to interact, starting my podcast and everything. And what's incredible is now that I'm back at my bartending job, we have to wear face masks, we have to disinfect, are at 50% volume. It's
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's not normal.
See, that's so interesting to me. I mean, so look at you, because I don't know your backstory.
Yeah.
Look what you had to do. And when you said that you had been a bartender and then all of a sudden, boom, that disappeared.
Yep.
But you're also a photographer, so you're a visual person.
Yeah.
And here we are, right? Today is about our images. We're up here with our images. We have to reinvent ourselves.
Yeah.
And I don't know if things are going to go back to maybe somewhat, but so much has changed from this. And then the thing is, Tristan, it's the uncertainty. Like, what is next week or the week after going to be? Certain parts. What part of the country are you in? I don't know.
I'm actually, I'm in Mississippi.
Okay, so you're at Mississippi. I don't know what your spike is doing there, if you even have one. I don't know.
We're lower actually compared to a lot of places.
Right, so that's a really good thing. So
yeah.
It's safe to suffice and say that things are maybe where you are. They're flat. The curve is flattening out. Things are better. There's more opening up by you, right?
Yeah. I mean, I went to Nashville about a month ago, and people weren't even wearing face masks. I mean, everything was completely open, crowds of people. People weren't really social distancing. I mean, it was normal when I went.
In Nashville, and that was a month ago.
That was
so maybe the virus didn't hit there the way it did.
Maybe not as. I mean, I'm about 3 hours away from New Orleans, and New Orleans completely was like shut down. You couldn't even go.
It was bad in New Orleans, and I have to tell you, you can't even wrap your head around what it was like in New York. I said all the time, we're living in a science fiction film. That's exactly what it felt like.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in your part of the country. So you have to wear a mask to work, right? When you're working.
Yes.
And do you guys have like the plexiglass or that plastic you have that too?
So we do. However, I mean, at the bar, we don't. They had to add it on so that the servers, where they wait tables, they could fit, like we have a wall and you can fit customers on one side and on the other side.
Oh, well, cool.
Before we did that barricade, we couldn't. If a customer was on one side, you couldn't sit the other side because it wasn't 6 feet apart. So they had to put that barricade so that they could sit both sides.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, and then like you have to wash your hands every 5 minutes. You're not supposed to be able to touch your phone. You can't, I mean, of course you can't eat, you can't really drink. If you need to do any of that, you have to go to the back. Again, it's 50% capacity. So I'm used to having a 26 top bar, where now it's not quite half that, it's a little bit over half. But so that alone, I mean, cuts your money in half too. It's incredible.
Sure.
I mean,
we're all we're all dealing with that. But guess what? We're dealing with it. Mm-hmm. We have to deal with it, and we don't have a choice. And even though you're washing your hands a lot, I couldn't help but notice, where'd you get that gorgeous manicure? My hands are a mess. Hands are fabulous.
I actually broke one. I wish I would keep trying to hide my hand because I keep showing it.
Yeah, your nails look gorgeous.
It's appointment only too. I walked in. I'm actually a regular at my nail place, and when I was going out of town, I wanted to get my nails done, and they were like, "You don't have an appointment," and I didn't know that it's appointment only. Same with hair salons. I mean, of course, that was kind of but at my hair salon, they can only have like 10 people in the building. That's including the stylist and the phone person and everything. It's crazy.
It's crazy. But at least your nail places, our nail places aren't open in New York yet.
Oh,
all right.
Really?
Look at me. I'm dying here.
No.
You should see, because, I discovered the nail powder gel, the powder, for the first time in my life. And I started doing it 6 months ago. For the first time in my life, my nails were so gorgeous. And as long as I got those manicures with the powder, I was fabulous, This happens. Oh, you're a woman. I can tell you this. This happens. And I had a choice the day before they shut down, whether to go for Botox or get my nails done.
Oh my gosh.
I chose Botox.
Yes, definitely.
Everything was closing because I said, you know what? I can always paint my own nails. And I did, but they came out terrible. Your manicure looks sensational. I cannot wait till I get back in for that.
I mean, that is so incredible. I mean, and it just really shows how, I mean, how the world is so different, because where I live, I'm surprised. I mean, I don't think like that, like in New York and California. You guys are so much bigger and your touristy areas. So that doesn't even process to me, I guess, because we're almost back to normal here, but at the same time, we still have people that are wanting to riot because it's not fully back to normal. And I can only imagine for you guys that you're still in a lot more quarantine than we are.
We are, I totally and completely, what they've done with our restaurants. So you mentioned tourism.
Yeah.
Zero tourists, zero. First of all, the hotels all through the pandemic, they're just starting to normalize, but they put healthcare workers and homeless people in the hotels. No tourists here during the whole, and you know, who's going to want to come to New York City when it's like, it was the highest amount of cases, right? But we are so far from normal. What we've done for our restaurants, because we live so close together, that 6 feet apart and having half the patrons come in, we can't even do that well yet. Maybe in 2 weeks we will be able to, but what the restaurants have done, they've turned the whole front outside into a bar area. So you can order like burgers, you can get a drink. The issue with it, like I live right near 2nd Avenue. The big issue with it that people are complaining about, everyone is hanging out in front of the restaurants, okay? In order to have your drink, you can't have a mask on, all right? You're also hanging out with your friends, so you're not 6 feet apart. And then bunches of other people come to get drinks. They're hanging out with their friends. And initially, when this started, the police would ride up and down the street with a bullhorn, oh my God, saying 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart. They're not even bothering to do that anymore.
Oh, wow.
You know, I know. So, you know, I don't know what's going to happen. I will tell you that if the virus in New York City spikes again, they're going to shut everything down and we'll be back to square one. It's interesting. Today I am talking to you. I have always had a weekend place in Pennsylvania that I got after 9/11, because 9/11 was like, I was in New York when it happened, and I thought, I need a place I can run to. So here I am. I've been hiding out here since Friday. And in Pennsylvania, they're on what they call the green stage, which you have to wear masks, but things are open. Again, only half capacity inside in the restaurants, lots of open air dining. And if you go into a store, you have to have your mask on, but it's far more normal than New York City.
Yeah.
Far more normal. So I'm trying to steal as many days as I possibly, you know, can while I'm here. The issue is do you have pets? I have a lot of animals.
I do.
What do you have?
I have 3 cats. I have 2 dogs. My mom has chickens. We have a horse.
Okay. So you and you have a rabbit?
Yes.
We are so similar. And here I am from New York. I live in my New York apartment with a cockatoo, you know, a parrot.
I saw that.
She's loose. And 2 English Angora rabbits, loose, and a long-haired Chihuahua in a New York City apartment. When I come out to Pennsylvania, I only bring the Chihuahua with me, and my daughter is staying. She's pet sits in the apartment for me, and she loves the animals too. And she's working at home, and my parrot perches on her computer while she's having her meetings. I love it. It's so funny. Yeah. And she's got her computer, you know, so she gets a good eye line. She's got her computer propped up on a bale of hay that the rabbits eat. Oh, my house is so crazy. It would totally make you laugh. But I have all these animals. But when I come out to Pennsylvania, I just bring Mr. Nugget, my long-haired Chihuahua, and everybody else stays back in the city. I'm telling you, I'm trying to do the best I can here.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But it's glad you have that little home away from home that you can kind of escape and, you know.
It's so fantastic. And my friends here have chickens. I love that you.
Are you there?
Okay. Are you there?
Yeah.
I cut out for a minute. Anyway, a lot of my friends here have, you know, you can have we call it livestock is what we call it in the Northeast. So you can have chickens and pigs if you want to. It's really, really cool. I love chickens. What kind of chickens do your family
I'll be
have?
honest, I don't know what type they are. I'm not that in depth with it because they just got them, so they're still like babies.
Oh, how cute. All right, that's
I
great. And
know.
they're really, if you raise them, you can pick them up. My friend Bill out here has chickens. Oh, I have to tell you, I needed chicken therapy a few weeks ago. I came out here for the first time after being locked up in New York. And I was so happy to be out in the country, hiking by waterfalls. And I went over to my friend Bill's house and he's like, would you like to hold a chicken? I'm like, yes, this is chicken therapy.
Oh my! I've
So
heard they're so cuddly.
they're cuddly, and his chickens are so sweet because he handles them a lot. So they
Right.
love being picked up and just, being in my arms and everything. It was chicken therapy. You hear that, everybody? Chicken therapy. And rabbits are the best. I mean, my
Yeah.
rabbits are, how calming are those? What kind of rabbit do you have?
I wish I could tell you because I actually won her at a fair. So
Oh, how
she's
cool.
just like a short-haired, like brown, standard rabbit with her ears go up in the air. So I
A
really
basic
don't know.
bunny.
Yeah, she's just kind of basic. I really don't know her breed or anything. I guess if I took her, I could probably find out what she is exactly, but I don't know. She was just kind of a
She's
random.
just, she's a random rabbit. I like that.
I love it. Her name is Vogue, actually.
Vogue.
Yes.
How did you come up with that name?
I like fashion. Actually, I have Vogue tattooed on me.
Gorgeous.
Because that's actually, I wanted to be a fashion photographer. So that's kind of where, because eventually I want to get 2 kittens and I'm going to name one Louis and one Vuitton. That's like my future endeavor.
That's hilarious. That's so
Yeah.
great.
Yes.
Louis and Vuitton. So what kind of photography do you do?
I shoot fashion for a lot of magazines. I know that it's not glamorous in Mississippi, but we do have a couple, and then I outsource like I'll do my own photo shoots, I'll style them and that kind of thing, and then I'll submit them to other magazines that are around the country. And then I do a lot of family, senior portraits, weddings, that kind of thing, just to kind
So
of.
you run the gamut. You probably run the gamut.
Well, it's funny because talking about the pandemic, I did FaceTime photo shoots.
Oh, you're kidding. That's
Seriously,
great.
it's a thing. If you go on Instagram and you look under the hashtag FaceTime photo shoot, there's some phenomenal photographers who are just killing the game. It's incredible.
And it's called, oh, I have to look at that.
Yeah,
My husband's a photographer, so I definitely, and it's called FaceTime photo shoots.
Yes, you need to
And
look
is it
it
like
up.
Instagram?
Yeah, you can do it on Instagram. You can probably find it on Pinterest too, but just like put the hashtag in and you can find, I mean, there's people that you can look at their work and not even realize that it was on like an iPhone or I mean, it's incredible at how the good quality it is. It's insane.
And they do it while they're on FaceTime.
Yes, like they take so for me, I did mine on an iPad just because the quality was a lot bigger on my iPad.
Yeah.
I would FaceTime the client, and then you have 2 options. One, I would take my camera and I'd actually photograph the iPad, or you could just take the screenshot and you can screenshot the subject, and then you can just go in Photoshop and edit it.
Okay, so that's really really interesting to me. Okay, so I'll share another new little career. I can't call it a career. What I started doing, because I'm on a lot of these, they call them variety shows, where they have singers and someone reading something, and I do my song parodies, or sometimes I just go on. I went on a show called In Bed with Icavelli. He's a comedian, and on his show, everyone knows me as a pandemic cooking person. Well, one of my characters is a flight attendant on Pandemic Cooking, and she'll fly you anywhere in the world, and she serves you airplane food. So I'll make a dish that day and I'll wrap it up. You know how they serve the food on an airplane, right? I'll wrap it up like that. So I decided, Ike invited me on his show. He said, do you want to do a sketch? What do you want to do? I said, I'm going to do the flight attendant from Pandemic Cooking. And what I did was the Sky Mall. I did Sky Mall, and I had all of these crazy weird things that you would never find at a Sky Mall, but that's exactly what made it so funny.
Yeah.
And I have the whole flight attendant outfit. I got it at like a party store the day after Halloween when it was online. So that was really funny. And that night I did that. I screenshot myself on it. But more than that, I started shooting all the shows I do on Zoom. So if we've got like 6 performers, even now, you see the way we're set up, right? And it's got all the icons on Zoom. I leave them in because they look really interesting. And I put the whole thing together, and then I make a collage out of it. So when the show is over, I post all those pictures on Facebook. Some of the ones, if someone has great lighting and their makeup and everything looks good, like you look gorgeous now, I would come in really close and I could crop you. And then, nobody would know that it was taken from Zoom. But yeah, I just started doing that because, Tristan, I'm sure you agree, this is such an incredibly creative time for us.
It is. It really is. That's kind of like with the FaceTime photo shoots. Not only does the photographer have to kind of be creative, but the model does too, that they have to coordinate their own outfits and where they're going to shoot, because it's not up to the photographer, because you can't just go and scout and stuff, So that's why it really makes everybody rethink the wheel, and it's making everybody, just get better, I feel like, with their intuition and that kind of thing.
You really just hit on something. It's making all of us more instinctive.
It is. It really is.
We're out of our comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
Totally out of our comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
And we have to crank it out now. So how are we going to do that? Well, we have to be open. We have to be totally open to doing this kind of stuff, and we can't be afraid. Listen, I told you, I am not a technical person, and here we are. When I heard there was a password, though, my heart stops a little bit, because these password things sometimes, I'm sure you.
Yes.
Every now and then the password doesn't work, and you're like, oh no, what am I going to do?
It's so funny that you say that, because I cannot stand face recognition, and I really don't like thumbprints. However, if I have to use it, I will. So it's one of those things, and it's crazy going back to the having to adapt thing, because being in a restaurant, so we don't have paper menus, we have barcodes, and you have to take your iPhone and you scan the barcode. And there's people who are very closed-minded and not willing to adapt to change, and they will not, like, they will walk out, or they'll get angry, or they'll, I've actually had coworkers get cussed out over it because people just aren't happy with it. But I mean, what can you do?
They have to change. And and I'm thinking, better than a menu, being able to scan, you're not touching things then.
Yeah, no, for the most part, no. I mean, because you don't want to take a menu and then somebody else get a hold of it, and you haven't, you don't want to chance it not being disinfected correctly.
Right.
So it's all precautionary. For the most part, for a while there, we were printing off these menus, but the thing is, the company was going through so much paper. So that's a lot.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, they were just like, let's go virtual, which I think is phenomenal. I love going to a restaurant. I'll just use like Chick-fil-A, for instance. You can literally go and you can scan the code on your phone, put your whole order in. You don't even have to talk to a person, and it's brought to your table. That was before the pandemic. But that's the way the world is going to anyway, is virtual. I feel like it's
totally.
I think it's pushing us to that futuristic part, and it's incredible.
And the future is here now.
It is. It's scary, but it's here.
It's scary. Oh my God. Well, that's, I think, the one thing that we've learned from all of this, right? It's like it's really forced us to operate in a different way, a different mode of thinking. Yeah. So what do you think about where we're going to be at? Like, if you fantasize like 3 months from now, what do you see down the road? I ask people this because of all the uncertainty that's around now.
Okay. I think the face masks are still going to be a thing. I really think that's going to be a thing until next year at minimum. I think that eventually they're going to start letting more people hang out around, because I'm scared that the rioting is going to get worse if it doesn't happen soon. I think that we're going to be pushed into a compromise. I think that's what's going to happen. I mean,
yeah, the compromise. And so do you feel like, I'm thinking, this is my wishful thinking, right? This vaccine, I'm hoping like they get this done. I don't think it's going to be around till maybe, February or March of next year.
Right.
But do you think we'll go back to the way we were, or we're going to be a blend of things? What do your instincts tell you?
I don't think it's going to go back to normal. I don't. And if it does, it's still going to, our generation's still going to think twice and have that in the back of our minds. But what scares me is that we're going to eventually, it might die down, but it's going to spike back up before it gets better. I really think it's gonna be like the flu, honestly. And what kind of bothers me is I get we have to be so cautious, but at the same time, I'm scared we're lowering our immune systems. And it's not bad to be cautious, but at the same time, our bodies are meant to protect ourselves with germs and that kind of thing. And it's so scary that us being like so confined, it's almost like we're gonna go backwards when we try to go forward.
Oh, that's really, really well put, because a lot of people, and again, I'm not a scientist, but I've heard that it's some of the scientists talk about this herd theory, where if we all get exposed, then the virus will go away. So I don't know, but there's certainly something to think about that. I don't know if you knew this, but I had the virus.
No, I didn't.
Oh, I got to tell you, Tristan, almost everybody in New York got it, all my friends. And what our symptoms were all different, but none of us, like, there were a couple that ran like the high fevers and had to go into the hospital. My symptoms were my head got very stuffy, and I lost my sense of smell and taste, and I had a headache, and my fever was 99 to 100, and I was like that for a week. My husband, everything he ate tasted like wood or rubber. And my daughter was like me, no sense of smell and taste. And initially, because they didn't know, I called like the 800 number when I started feeling weird. And then I called my doctor. And my doctor said to me, "Oh, no, you all have a sinus infection." I said, "Really?" I said, "But it's weird that my husband's saying everything tastes like wood and I can't smell or taste anything, neither can my daughter." And he said, "No, I'm going to write you a prescription for Zithromax. That'll do it." Well, of course, I took the Zithromax for 2 days. And I was still couldn't smell, couldn't taste, nothing, right? So I called, my husband as a really good concierge doctor, and they did telemedicine and told them all my symptoms. And they said, "You guys all have COVID. You have to isolate." I'm like, "Are you sure?" They said, "Yeah, the smell and taste thing is the number one thing." And I'm like, "Well, why doesn't everybody know that?" They were telling everyone it was the cough and the heaviness on the chest.
Yeah.
And smell and taste became as big. But I told you, nothing's going to stop me, right? My daughter loves bringing this up. We find out we're all sick, and there I am getting ready to do pandemic cooking with Wendy in the corner of the couch, getting my hair pieces on, my costumes on. My daughter's like, "Mom, you're sick." I go, "No, I only have 99, and I took Tylenol for that headache." And I'm like, "I got to do my show." And this is absolutely true. But the funniest thing about it, now here you go, Tristan. I can't cook, and now I can't smell or taste.
Oh my God.
So I'm preparing this, and I didn't tell anybody that, because some of my close friends said to me, "You can't tell your audience that. You're going to lose like total credibility." So I didn't tell anybody just till now, but yeah, and it lasted quite a long time. But there you go. People tried my recipes. They loved them. So that's the deal, right? The show must go on no matter what.
Right. So now you can't say you can't cook, because now you do.
Thank you. Right. And now I do cook, and it's really fun. I really enjoy cooking certain things now. I don't think I'll ever go back to being like, people that, make meals at night and cook big dinners on the weekend. But, I came up with a potato salad dish that I am really, really proud of. It really, when I finally could taste it, I made it and it tasted really good. And I thought, that is really something. I mean, I'm surprising myself. Listen, cooking's like everything, right? You just have to be confident and know that you can do it.
So is this going to lead to a future cookbook?
Oh, I love that you asked that. Yes, it probably will. Not probably. Yes, that's in the works. And I also have been in talks with people about, representing different brands and things as the pandemic cooker, right? And currently now I am in a cookbook called Cafe Himbo's Isolation Cooking, done by Joe Zazo. The cookbook is an ebook. Joe Zazo is the chef, and you can Google that. It's Zaso. And he actually found me, Pandemic Cooking with Wendy, and he said, "I'm doing a celebrity cookbook." He has people. Cafe Himbo was a cafe in one of the horror films, and this guy, before he was a chef, produced horror films. So he loves horror films. So he looked for celebrities to put in the book. And I'm in there with like somebody that starred in, what was Linda Blood, The Omen. I'm in there with someone that was in The Omen. All of these people that have been in horror films. And the recipe that I put in Joe Zaza's cookbook was really cool. It was the day when I made it with someone before we had to start wearing masks. And my friend Nurse Jed is an actual nurse. He's a performer at night, a stage performer, but nurse by day, frontliner too. And he came over and we made Nurse Jed's truffle potato chip coated chicken. Best recipe, Tristan. I got to tell you this because it's a little different. You take truffle oil and mix it with mayonnaise and you put it in a baggie. Then you get truffle potato chips, right? We can get those anywhere. And I love this part of the recipe. While they're in the baggie, just crunch them up, right? It feels really good because you can feel them breaking down. And then you take your chicken, you put it in the plastic bag with the mayonnaise and truffle oil. You get it good and coated, one piece at a time, either, you know, like a chicken thigh, or you can use a chicken breast. You want to get it coated with the mayonnaise and truffle oil mixture. And then you take and you put it in the potato chip bag. And then you shake it. And then you put it in the, it's so cool. You put it in the oven for 40 minutes. So after 20 minutes, you turn it to the other side. So 40 minutes total. And it is so incredibly delicious. And again, easy, but really different, right? So I think if I make that with my potato salad, I'll have people over. We'll celebrate.
Yes, whenever everything
is over.
Yes, when it's lifted, you'll have a huge party and you can serve that.
Right? Won't that be great?
Yes, that sounds phenomenal.
It's been quite a trip, I have to tell you, and it should be interesting what the next couple of months are.
Yeah,
I've been working on one of my films too. We had started, so my husband and I make films about endangered animals and endangered people, but probably like a year ago, my passion, animals, I told you that. And I said to Alan, what are we going to do? No one is really, I felt, really paying homage to the working and therapy dogs of America. Look how they change people's lives. Right. I said, that's what I want to do a film on next. So we spent like the last year shooting, and just about the time we're ready, right before the pandemic, I meet an editor. I swear he dropped down from the universe, and we hired him to start editing our film. So this is so great because while all this is going on, I have that other project this being edited. We hope to have, finished with all the final touches on in the fall. It's called Working Dogs: A Love Story. And it's individual people that we've interviewed. I have a journalist there that has epilepsy, and the dog knows when he's going to have a seizure. This dog has been trained. She can sniff out brains there's a chemical in his brain. She can sniff it out. How amazing is that? Or programs at libraries where kids that are shy or may have some learning difficulties, they're reading to dogs. Because you know what? Those are my favorite segments because a dog will never judge you, right?
Yeah.
And they can read aloud to the dog. And these are dogs that have been trained to sit there and listen to the child. There was one dog, a Doberman, that it's usually German Shepherds and Retrievers that you hear. A Doberman, and Aries was amazing. And he took his paw and put it on the little boy's knee while the little boy was reading. It was so, right. And it builds confidence in these kids. There's dogs that if you have PTSD, they can sense when you're having a nightmare and calm you down. And there are dogs for people that don't have sight that can count steps to the supermarket. It's been so incredible learning all of this. So very excited to say that film, we're going to be releasing it for festivals and distribution. I'm counting on the fall.
That's awesome. So the pandemic has been really good to you, it sounds like. I mean,
it's been good to me, but the only reason it's been good to me is because I'm supposed to get a really amazing positive message to everybody out there to give them hope so that it's devastating what happened. I know that. Someone watched my show that didn't know me that well and said, I don't think it's very funny what you're doing. The pandemic's not funny. And I said, you're right. It's not funny. All right. But my goal is to be able to lift people up, to make them laugh, to get them through it, right? I'm an entertainer. That's what I do. I'm there to entertain them and hopefully, you know, bring a little pleasure into their day and make them feel good. And that's all I want out of it.
That's incredible. You are such an uplifting and positive person. I love it.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being on my show today. I've learned so much from you.
Thank you. I totally love being here. And the thing I love is, you know, you're in Mississippi. Today I'm in Pennsylvania. Tomorrow I'll be back in New York City. You know, we really, because of all of this, we've really brought the world a lot closer.
Yeah. I mean, it's an eye-opening experience. I didn't even realize that, you know, it's crazy how we get so used to being in our day-to-day life. We don't necessarily think about others and what they're going through. I mean, just because we feel okay, I mean, obviously you guys are still shut down and I didn't even realize that, you know.
Right. And it makes me happy to hear your, you know, other than precautions, you guys are kind of back to normal. And hearing that, you know, that's really great. And if you and I didn't have this exchange today, none of us would have known it. I think what the lesson to be learned from all of this is we really have to broaden our horizons. The world now is a lot closer. And I'm going to use a cliche that I've heard over and over again. We're all in this together, worldwide.
We are. We very much so are.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I hope to catch up with you in the future. I want to hear about everything that's going on with your cookbook.
Oh, you totally will. I'm going to need from you. I want to see how I can get in touch with you as well. So make sure you shoot me your email. And is it okay today for anybody listening that I give all my social media handles?
Please, go ahead.
Is that great? Okay. You can catch my show, Pandemic Cooking with Wendy, on YouTube. My channel on YouTube is Wendy Stuart TV. My website is wendystuarttv.com. You can reach out to me on Facebook. I do answer under Wendy Stuart. My page is very funny, very amusing, and I have lots of great, colorful friends too. On Facebook, you can also find information about my book. It's called She's the Last Model Standing. It's more than about my modeling career. Really, it's about my life and never giving up. It's an inspirational book, and you can find the book on Amazon, She's the Last Model Standing, both in printed and in Kindle. On Instagram, you can find me under She's the Last Model Standing, so check out my Instagram. And last but not least, going back to Facebook, our page for our films, Visual Journeys, Our Stories. You can read about our films, and I have a lot of other interesting things on there that'll tell you more about me.
Awesome. Yes, everybody needs to go follow you and find all of that information out. That would be so exciting. And I cannot wait to hear about your cookbook.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you for being and having me on and all that great stuff, okay?
Well, it was such a pleasure. I appreciate you doing this for me today.
Have a good day, Tristan.
You
Take care.
too.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.